question the precious gift you give. Look and see how profoundly it moves a weary world to live. You bless the Pegasus to open up its wings and fly. You make a difference in oh so many lives. You see the beauty in my soul. You see the half of me is whole. And show me I can love myself. Move me from fear to all is well. You hear my deepest heart's desire and hand me the match to strike the fire, burning freely, so I can see me. I can see me. So I can see me.
So, good. Okay, so today, as we said, our topic for the month is integrity. It's an interesting topic. It's a big topic. Last week we talked about wandering off that path of our thought and our integrity and our character and how we kind of keep ourselves on that path. Today I want to talk about a life of character. When we talk about integrity, it's embracing the quality of being honest and striving to let our inner convictions match our outer actions. We express wholeness, honesty, and fairness in our relationships and activities. So a life of character, and we live a life of integrity. It's about our character. You can't separate those two. So character, of course, can be a person in a book or a movie or something like that. But you know me, that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the definition of character as who we are in the world. And I don't mean how we dress. I don't mean what our favorite music is or whether we're introverted or extroverted. Character is defined by our habits. It's defined by our moral life, how we treat others, how we even treat ourselves. It's our will, our temperament, and living our values. I find that the definition of character works best when it is intertwined with the definition of integrity, letting our inner convictions match our outer actions. Honesty, fairness in our relationships, and most important, with ourselves. It's funny, as I lay out my clothes Saturday night that I'm going to wear when I speak, and I realize we have to look appropriate up here to a point. And so I got dressed this morning, and then I found as I was heading out the door that I was not comfortable. And for some reason, I didn't get it until I arrived here today, that part of my character and who I am is comfort. I got out of stilettos and all kinds of makeup and things years ago, so I wanted to wear my jeans today because that's who I am. So I dress up when I need to and when it's appropriate for the event, but I wanted to be comfy today. And well, thank you. I often thought that when I had my own church, it would be called the Blue Jean Church of Science and Mind. So I'm wearing my black jeans today. So anyway, okay. So how often do you think of character? It's not one of those definitions or conversation that rolls around in our head that often, right? However, we do think about it when something comes to thought that we're faced with, maybe a challenge or a task, because you might think, how do I want to respond to this issue? How do I want to be seen, as I'm dealing with this issue? Or when someone else we know causes us to kind of ponder judgment about something they've done. And wow, that brings up an interesting statement, because I have to say, over the past few weeks in the news, I've been saddened day by day by the people I respected in media and in entertainment whose character really wasn't quite what we thought it to be. I found a wonderful quote. It's anonymous, so I can't give credit to anybody, but it says, "Integrity is not something you show others, it's how you behave behind their back." How about that? It speaks volumes. And then here's one that is also very interesting. It's from, if I'm going to say this right, Wiki Dictionary. Wiki dictionary, wiki dictionary, wiki dictionary. I can't put the letters together. Anyway, so it compares character with reputation. It would be well if character and reputation were used distinctively, because in truth, character is what a person is. Reputation is what he's supposed to be. Character is in himself. Reputation is in the mind of others. Character is injured by temptations and by wrongdoing, where reputation is injured by slanders and libels. Character endures without defamation in every form, but perishes when there is a voluntary transgression. Reputation may last through numerous transgressions, but be destroyed by a single and even unfounded accusation or assumption. We can work so hard on building the ideal image of who we are, and in a fleeting moment of a voluntary transgression, it can fall because of something we did or because of something someone else thought you did. Yeah. In my research on the many definitions of character and integrity, I found one word in a piece that had the most depth, and the word is consistency. Being consistent with who you are. Being consistent with your actions. Can your character be consistent when things around you are in flux, when day to day things are up or down, when moods change? Consistency is a choice. I hadn't thought about that. Consistency is a choice that we make every day, even when the situation around us changes day by day. If you have an argument at home, and you leave the house, and the first thing you do is when you go to work, or you go to school, or you go into a meeting, can you make that conscious choice and be consistent about it to shift gears and to not take that temper with you into the meeting or the anger of that event, into the next thing? Can you release the conversation and not lash out at somebody else? That's choice. Last week, I spoke about the spiritual practice of presencing, being present and sensing, making the attention to be present, releasing the past, being fully aware of the spiritual connection within you, around you, and letting that pull your best future piece of yourself into that next interaction. That's a conscious choice. That's a path of integrity and also an aspect of character, to be your very best in every situation, to be fair and consistent. Ernest Holmes says the reason a man has difficulty in throwing off some weakness of character while believing in spirit implicity and having the faith that he's going to overcome his limitation is because he has not induced the necessary images in mind. If he had, he would have overcome his trouble. Have in mind what you want to be. If you know your guiding principles for life, can you picture what kind of person you want to be and be known as? Have that as your image. That's the necessary image to keep in mind. In the science of mind philosophy, our teaching is about remembering the aspects and the qualities of spirit, of the Creator, of God, that it's already within us, and they can be the guides for our life. If I could name some of those aspects, some of those things, I would say love, joy, abundance, freedom, beauty, order, harmony, well-being, oneness, and that's just a few. That's what we keep in mind. That's what keeps the flow of consistency, having spiritual principles as our guide. Character is also about relationship. Not only about relationship with others, but about relationship with ourselves. I'm going to read the same quote that Jim did. There's one mind. We're all kind of using that one. And it is from Ernest Holmes. Sound relations with others do not permit any selfishness. What good we may desire for ourselves, we must also have that desire for them. Jealousy of others can have no place in our thinking. What we would deprive of them, we would deprive of ourselves. Life is one enormous cooperative, interrelated creation. As we come to learn to cooperate with life and our fellow man, we are more nearly expressing the order and harmony that resides in the mind of God. And Ernest Holmes goes on, there is one person we must learn to get along with above all others, and that person is ourself. We must never belittle ourself, never dislike yourself, never resent what we are or the way we feel, and stop feeling guilty in any way. God created us. We are its expression. If we have done many things wrong up till this time, perhaps that's just the way things are. But the larger possibility is always ahead of us. We can start becoming more of it right now. Start moving out of what we are into what we can be. The moment we start to get on good terms with ourselves, all else falls into place, for then we are in harmony with God, and God includes us in everything and everyone else. That's from a lovely little book, A New Design for Living. It's a great little book. So many of us come out of our childhoods with low self-esteem and low confidence, and we can spend our entire life trying to figure out what's wrong with us and trying to correct our self-image. And so our focus can sometimes go outside looking for a successful living through our work or through social media. Okay, but what about our self-image within and having it come from there? When we remember who we are spirit having a human experience. When we remember what we come from love and the creativity of the Creator. My first teacher, Reverend Donald, described it as, we are an outpicturing of the mind of God. I love that. An outpicturing of the mind of God. And why are we here? We're here for God to better know itself through the human experience in third-dimensional reality, to feel emotion through each individual personality, and for each of us to expand to our greatest potential. When we live by the spiritual principles that our philosophy teaches, and maybe you've come up with some of your own that are spiritual principles for you, but when we have a guide to live by, we can be consistent living our values and being in a place of fairness and honesty. And I'm going to add listening in there too, because listening is a very important characteristic, a very important trait. We need to do that. And most of all, we need to love ourselves and be gentle with ourselves. And when we can do that, we're in harmony with spirit. Make sense? Yes. Okay. I'm going to say yes. So be fair and honest with yourself. Your first relationship is with ourselves, and when that's positive, we're better out in the world, because how we feel about ourselves ends up being a reflection on how we treat others. There's a distinct connection. Our character is a total picture of loving ourselves, treating others in the way we want to be treated. I'm going to share a story I learned yesterday. Jerry informed me of this fantastic story about this person that had a challenge in their life as a young singer who's very popular today, with what we might describe as an amazing sense of character that he developed and grew up with. As a young child, this person was bullied for being different. Because he had a terrible stutter and bad eyesight, he had to wear big oversized glasses, and he was a little guy. His stutter caused him to freeze up when he would speak at school. There were certain word formations of a person who stutters that just will not come out, no matter how hard you try. Sounds and words can be extremely difficult. Kids made fun of him, they mocked him, he was embarrassed, and he eventually stopped talking in school. He was put in speech therapy, but it did not work as planned. Talking wasn't good. But he was invited into choir at church, and he found out that singing somehow was easy. So that flow of words and the flow of the music and the sound of that, he could sing very beautifully, but he just couldn't speak and make words come out. So he sang in church, and then he taught himself to play the guitar, and then he started writing his own music so that he could express himself, because that's how words came out for him. He created his own space of freedom and control for himself. His parents tried lots of different things to help, and then one day his father gave him a record of Eminem, the rap singer. And that somehow clicked, and that process of rap music, that speaking that, clicked for him. And he was able to do that very easily, for some reason. You see, he wasn't dumb. A lot of people think kids who stutter are dumb, but they're not. They just can't, they have a speech impediment. So he was actually very intelligent. He just wasn't allowed to be in an environment that found that out and allowed him to utilize that intelligence and be creative. So he started to write his own music, his own lyrics. It opened his life. He created his own therapy that healed his stutter. He began performing in public, and he played wherever he could, mostly bars. He worked where he could, he slept where he could, and he ate when he could, because making money in the music world today when you're starting out is not easy to do. There are times he wanted to give up, but music was a part of him. It was who he was, and it carried him. His determination became a cornerstone of his character. His strength, his inner conviction, his belief in himself was consistent in what he thought he could do. And what he had to offer to the music world was his guide. He came from England to Los Angeles with nothing, in hopes of finding a record contract. He sent his music out everywhere he could. Finally, he had a break and ended up on a radio show. Turns out the host of that radio show was the actor Jamie Foxx. Learned something new. Didn't know Jamie Foxx did radio shows. So Jamie had this kid on stage for the first time, pushed him out there and said, "You're going to do this. You need to do your music." So the kid was scared and he was terrified, but he did it. And the audience loved him and they gave him a standing ovation. Very unexpected, his first time in an arena like that. Jamie Foxx was so impressed that he got the kid into a recording studio, and then all the work and the determination and the consistency paid off. Oh, he's so happy. He got noticed by one of the most powerful women in music today. He got noticed by Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift, and even though he was unknown, he was new, she offered him the position of her opening act on her next tour. His latest album debuted #1 in 14 countries. His music has streamed billions of times on the web. He's won 2 Grammys. He writes music not only for himself, but for some of the biggest names in music, and in a very short time has become very close with musicians and actors all over the world. Not bad for a kid with 1 eardrum, a speech impediment, and bad eyesight. His name is Ed Sheeran. Bright red hair, lots of freckles, but he's got it going. Most of us may not have heard of him. I only heard of him recently myself. He was on Today's Show or something, but I was impressed. Ed maintained his personal scope of character to make a path for himself no matter what the obstacles were. And even after accomplishing his goal, after growing up in a school, being bullied, being made fun of, he didn't stop there. His consistency of character led him to be a voice. For the American Institute of Stuttering, so that he can help others. Ed says, quirks may seem weird, but they make you stand out when you're older, and that's an important thing. What a gift of strength and consistency within when you never know from day to day what's going to happen. And I have to say, every time I get up here and get teary, I think, oh, that's not going to happen. But I can talk about stuttering because I was a stutterer. Yeah. I know what it's like to be in class and to hold your hand. Teacher asks a question, and I've got the answer. And as soon as she calls on you, nothing comes out. And you go, There are words that start with WH that are some of the hardest words to speak for kids with a stutter. And I would go, and I couldn't say the word, it wouldn't come out. And then the teacher would get mad and she'd yell at me, "Why are you raising your hand if you don't know the answer? You're taking up my time." And other kids who do know how to answer the question, "Don't raise your hand again." So you quiet and you stop talking and you just become invisible. So I got into speech lessons. It helped some. And then I eventually, obviously, grew out of it. But there were times when I would freeze up and couldn't talk. So being here is a work of art, I think. I had to let go of who I am and recognize that Spirit does the work. And my body is a vessel of Spirit. And that was one of the things that helped me kind of get through that. So I can talk about stuttering. There are some words that just don't happen. So my story about Ed is amazing. I do like his music. I think what he's done has been phenomenal. And it reminded me, it's not unlike that white supremacist gentleman I told you about in the spring. I forget his name at this point. I didn't go back to see that. But the struggle he went through, the struggle with himself to continue his goal and his courage, get those tattoos removed, build his character, and then to go on to help others. Those are big stories. Sorry. So that's a lot of stuff. Take a big breath. Roll your shoulders. Yeah, just roll your shoulders. Who do you want to be on the inside? And who do you want to present yourself on the outside? There are many of you in here who are amazing people and have been through amazing things, but I don't know all of you. I don't know who you are outside of the center. But I do know that we all take that breath, that promise, that step to be consistent and to be who we want to be. And when we stumble, it's okay. In the words I mentioned just a moment ago from Ernest Holmes, if we have done many things wrong at this time, if perhaps we have not been all that we could have been, well, that's just the way things are. But the larger possibility is always ahead of us. We can start becoming more of it right now. Start moving out of what we are into what we can be the moment we start to get on good terms with ourselves. All else will fall into place, and then we will be in harmony with God, and God includes us and everything and everyone else. So, love yourself. And that's all you need to do. So, let's take that into prayer. Invite the practitioners to stand up around the room and hold space. What I would like to do is speak the prayer first, and then if we could have the easy prayer up on the screen afterward, if that can happen, I would love that. Now you know something else about me. So, let's go within. I recognize right here, right now, in this moment, that there is only one. It is that presence of love, that presence of wholeness, that divine aspect of truth and being and everything that is the center of the universe. And it is that center that has created everything out of itself. Every individual, everything. And it is all an outpicturing of the mind of God, the mind of that divine presence, because that is love and that is wholeness. That is well-being, it is good, it is beauty, it is joy, it is abundance, it is order, it is all. I allow everything about myself that is not that to just fade away, to move away and fade away into its nothingness, because what I expect and anticipate and bring forth through my attention and intention is the presence of the divine, so that I can be the best I can be in this moment and as I step forward into every moment. I know this truth for every individual in the room, that there is that divine spark of love and good, that spark of character and integrity and consistency to be the best that each person can be in every moment. For I know that spark of desire lives fully. As we work together in this center, as we speak, as we listen to each other with kindness and with joy, we take that good that we learn through this wonderful philosophy out into the world to our families. We don't have to tell them what it is, because most of the time they don't want to know. But we can be that presence and that example of joy and love. And for that I am grateful. And so with absolute good, I just hold that, but I also release that. And so I know absolute gratitude for this moment and for the love and joy that is in the heart of each individual here, and those members and people that are also out traveling or not well and not here today. For love abounds everywhere, and the connection is always there. I give my heart and no guidance for the leaders of our country today, and the leaders of every country, and the leaders of faiths and religions. All of that comes to the one, comes from the one, guiding those back to the one. I know great blessings. And so with love and joy and with gratitude, I release this word into the law, the mechanics that makes it so. And grounding this together, accepting this, we say, and so it is.